And sometimes when life moves, we live in a very dysfunctional world where everybody, most of humanity, is completely lost in insanity, actually, although they seem to be sane, but they're not. Just open the news and you will see how much insanity there is. And they still pretend that everything is okay, or maybe it's not okay, but whether it is or not, it's still insane. Somehow humanity manages to get by it. So in the challenging world of immense dualities, of course you're bound to become unbalanced. You just walk out in the street of New York, in the street of London, or in the street of Malta, or wherever you go. And there's all sorts of people, and some of them are screaming at each other. Some of them are homeless on the street. Every day probably you get to see someone a bit crazy, or even interact with them to a certain extent. So it's very easy to become unbalanced. And then of course your energy mixes up and your attention naturally draws into the unbalance, and then automatically you feel a certain sense of separateness or myself or I, because you have come into unbalanced state of energy. It happens very often, every day, just because you interact with other people who are completely lost in duality. But once you balance, you sit down and you just clear yourself up. There is the natural self here, always been here. It's all open, it's all here, and it's beautiful. Now, of course, there are many deeper degrees of the experience of the self. And many seekers who read the books, they idealize. They want the ultimate. But their life is not matching completely the ultimate. I guess not everybody can go to India, find a tree, be a beggar for 10 years. Your probably health would collapse. There are many stories actually of even the local sages of India, when they keep sitting under a tree in a cave. Now, those who survive somehow make it through with their health. Some of them become famous and popular in India. But nobody knows how many died in the caves. Nobody speaks of them because, well, they died. So only few sages who do manage somehow to survive, they can then immerse and continue sitting under the tree or in a cave. And then the Westerners read the books and they idealize that this is the way of the self. This is a fantasy. Nobody speaks about the reality of it. Hardly anybody acknowledges health issues of their lives. Well, that's the nature of human beings, to be fascinated by extremities. And there is so much illusion and confusion and fantasy in the seekers of what the self is and how to put it in a practical sense. Then there are those sages who do embody deeper degrees of the self, and actually in a practical way. Those are extremely rare. For example, Buddha, he was very practical, he was very down to earth, he moved a lot around the country, he helped a lot of people in many, many ways. There is Meher Baba, also, who moved a lot around. He visited the Western world quite a few times. He had many projects and still being deeply immersed in the nature of God. You know the stories of Kabir, the weaver. He was always extremely direct and blunt, and helping anybody who came his way in any kind of practical way. The masters of Sant Mat are also with the people, for the people, even building hospitals and schools, while being in complete union with God. I would say this degree of practicality somewhat is even more difficult, because in some ways it is easier to sit in one spot and do nothing if the stars align in such a way. But to put that self into the world and to be helpful, it's somewhat another big challenge. So we see that there are common patterns. Just like a spiritually awakened person suddenly having inner light and inner love looks around and says, how can I help? But the same pattern goes over and over again into deeper and deeper degrees. So being practical is not easy. Being impractical, it's easier. That is human nature, how we can be of service. So at the deeper level, we also find ascended masters who have mastered multiple paths. We actually did a deeper research on ascended masters and discovered that each of the Chohans have mastered the key divine spirits of different paths, and they have mastery over all of them. And the ascended masters are known to humanity because they are extremely practical. There are so many stories of Saint Germain helping nations, drafting laws, guiding the kings and queens and commoners, and trying always to steer humanity as a civilization in a more positive timeline. Now that is quite a sense of practicality. That's a big deal. Therefore, multiplicity is not a problem at all. It's beautiful. It's diverse. It is God's imagination, a song of God. Having your form is also not a problem. Having your personality is also not a problem. Being in the world of duality is also not a problem. Unless you don't know what to do with it. Unless you haven't mastered yourself in a practical way. Because you see, you live your life. You don't live in the shoes of other sages. Your life is meant to be lived by you, uniquely yours. It's another fantasy and illusion that seekers want to have the same life as this ideal someone else. You will become ideal when you will live your life in the ideal way, not somebody else's life in an ideal way. Coming back to the deeper degrees of the One, yes, the world arises from the One. It is sustained by the One. It will merge back into the One, like the waves in the ocean. But having realized that you are that One, you will no longer make a mistake to believe that you are only the flesh and blood or personality only. Though I know that you may struggle with your personality, you may struggle with your bones and back pains, but you will not confuse yourself of who you really are. Who am I? That becomes clear. We can witness that life is a motion. Your part is to dance in the motion of life, to play your role, to be natural at being yourself. That's what will bring you happiness, being yourself, playing your role, becoming better at it, continuing to decondition, and knowing in the deeper sense that it's all fine, that it's okay, and you know who you are. To dive deeply into the One, you will see that all is one. That everything is like a reflection. These deeper realizations that come are not easy to become practical. Those deep realizations that are within are not easy to be manifested, because I tell you, I could speak for days and weeks and months of the nature of the divine, but to manifest the divine in the world of duality, that nature of the divine must pass through the great vortex, the Mahasunyata great void, the vastness of multitudes of universes of Parbrahmanda. The divine nature then must come down to the negative force of Lord Kal, and then enter the universe of duality, which is our universe, and then go down through the cosmic regions and under regions and finally reach the Pinda regions. It is such a far journey for the nature of divine to reach the densest corners of duality, which is here. Here everything functions with different laws, with the laws of duality. It's a different set of rules. It's like you're an American, but you go to India. And when a Westerner comes for the first time in India, they're like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? It's definitely not like in Miami. It's definitely not like in Paris. Yes, it's a different place. There are different rules, different people. Everything works differently. Though on the same planet, though we're all the same human beings, but the rules are different. Therefore, full consciousness is a great gift. For you do tap into that ocean of the One. And then a great challenge is to start putting it in practice of your life. Through you. Through this beautiful, unique being. An expression, a form of you. That's the beauty of multiplicity, because the One can come through many forms, in many ways. That's the beauty of spiritual traditions. We can find God and know God in the Jnana way, in the Bhakti way, and many other ways. Same God, same self, just different expressions.